Mga ka-BBM, muling iginisa sa Kongreso itong si DOJ Secretary Boying Rimulya kaugnay sa iba't ibang anomalya na kinasasangkutan ng Department of Justice, partikular ang pagiging bias nito pagdating sa mga kasong isinasampa sa ahensya. Sagot ni Rimulya sa tanong ni Congresswoman ng Franz Castro, mahirap daw manalo ang DOJ kapag magsasampa ng kaso na wala namang sapat na ebidensya at testigo. Pero kung gano'n naman pala, bakit tuwing may mga krimen na kinasasangkutan ng matataas na politiko, gaya ni General Bantag at Congressman na Arnie Tevez Jr., ay agad na nagsasampa ng kaso itong si Rimulya kahit hindi pa naman sapat ang mga ebidensya at hindi pa tapos ang ginagawang investigasyon.
So nakikita kasi natin, Mr. Chair, na nawawala yung impartiality ng mga prosecutors din dahil DOJ mismo ay member ng NTF-ELCAC at ang ATC po.
We are objective in what we do, but we are not impartial. We are very partial to the victims of crimes, Madam Chair. Kung wala hong testigo at wala hong talaga ebidensya, napakahirap po talaga na manalo sa kahit anong kaso na ganito po.
Samantala, nang tanungin naman si Rimulya kung paano masusolusyonan ang problema sa Bureau of Corrections o BUCOR, sagot ni Rimulya, kailangan daw nila ng 23 bilyong piso para magpagawa ng bagong piitan, pero tinanggihan ito ng pamahalaan.
Ngunit, ang hiningi namin po para maiayos to ay 23 billion para magpagawa ng bagong piitan at para ma-decongest po natin ang mga tao. Ngunit wala akong binigay sa amin na ganitong pondo ang gobyerno.
Nakatikim din si Rimulya ng batikos kay Congressman Janet Garin, kaugnay naman sa mga health workers na kinakasuhan ng CHR at DOJ, kaugnay naman sa matagal ng isyu na may kinalaman sa di umano ay palpak na bakuna.
And yung tanong ko po, kasi andyan na, nakikita na walang basehan at paulit-ulit na sinasabing walang namatay at hindi nakakamatay yung bakuna. Is it fair to say that if PAL keeps on filing cases, patuloy nyo lang din na ibibigay? At ang dami pong nangangailangan ng tulong nyo, stop please. Kung sino
ano ang masasabi mo dito, mga ka-BBM? Sama-sama nating panuorin ang buong video at pakikomment nyo po ang inyong mga reaksyon at sariling opinyon. Pero bago yan, muli po ako nag-iimbita. Sa mga hindi pa po nakasubscribe sa ating channel na ka-BBM News PH, pakipindot po ang subscribe button at pakiclick na rin ang notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa mga bagong upload natin na legit at napapanahong balita. Maraming pong salamat.
Recently, I believe the Prosecutor General's Office has been filing. I mean, I'm not sure if it's the Prosecutor General's Office filing. These are cases from PAO. At paulit-ulit to yung copy and paste cases related to Deng Vaxia na paulit-ulit na sinasabing may namatay pero sinasabi naman ng buong mundong walang namatay. And mind you, Mr. Secretary, in the whole world, more than 21 countries are continuously using the vaccine, increasing. Sa Pilipinas lang nagkaroon ng confusion. And mind you, the other agencies, let's say World Bank and UN agencies whose employees and families are coming to the Philippines are actually being mandated vaccination on dengue. My question is, andyan dyan yung kaso, nadi-dismiss, file ulit, file ng file, may hinihiring, naguguluhan kasi hindi makita ng DOJ before kung sino yung, who has the authority to handle this. Is it not, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Secretary, that this is already an injustice to our scientists and our experts? They are being forced to shell out millions for their bail. Yung dalawa doon, mamamatay na nga kasi terminal na yung cancer ng isa. Yung isa nagkakaroon ng thyroid storm. Why don't we allow them to die in peace?
Okay. Madam Chair, can I ask the Prosecutor General to answer this question?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. The matter as of this time is that the reason for the refilings is that the Supreme Court issued an order, I would say around 2-3 months ago, saying that the venue for the cases is now the Regional Trial Court in Quezon City. So meaning the previous cases before that were filed with the MTC, we have to refile it with the RTC. So that's what we have done, Your Honor.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, with the indulgence, just last one quick, because in rebuttal, and Mr. Chair, actually, Secretary.
Okay, last question, please.
Yes, The other expert is Dr. Cecilia Lim. So we only have 2 forensic pathologists in the Philippines. And yung tanong ko po, kasi andyan dyan na, nakikita na walang basehan at paulit-ulit na sinasabing walang namatay at hindi nakakamatay yung bakuna. Is it fair to say that if PAL keeps on filing cases, patuloy nyo lang din na ibibigay at patuloy na kakasuhan? For the record, Honorable Secretary, as I was computing earlier, each doctor, each RITM expert, at kasama na dito yung gumawa ng ating bakuna sa rabies, sa polio, sa measles, because these are the same scientists that were involved at kilala nyo naman yung iba doon. They are somehow forced to prepare 40 million for their bail. Saan naman sila kukuha nun?
Okay, so Madam Garin, if you take some questions, take that on the second round.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please,
Very gladly.
Secretary.
If I may, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I had an earlier question to the Prosecutor General. Is this justice or injustice for scientists or experts who went home to the Philippines, served the Philippines, served the government, and now they're being forced to come up with millions and pesos just to be on bail, despite the fact na wala ngang matumbok na kaso kasi wala ngang kaso, wala ngang namatay.
The good prosecutor, please answer the question of the good representative Garin.
With due respect, Your Honor, I will answer by way of procedure because the moment there is a complaint filed with the Department of Justice, we are mandated to receive it and run the preliminary investigation. So it is procedural. And in due course, whether we will file the case or not. In this particular case, the next procedure is for the prosecutors to file the case. So, ma'am, procedural po sa amin yan. And after that, it goes to the court. Again, it's a matter of procedure po.
Yes, thank you
Okay.
very much, Mr. Chair. I'll go on my second round, and just to leave a last statement. I do admire the Department of Justice for coming out with an order that the prosecutor's office should stop filing weak cases because we have a lot of problems, we have a lot of Filipinos, ang dami pong nangangailangan ng tulong nyo. Stop, please. Kung sino man yung mga nambababoy sa ating mga scientists at mga eksperto, sana po makonsensya kayo.
Thank you very much, Representative Garin.
So yung unang question, Mr. Chair, as regards to the impartiality ng Secretary of Justice. Okay, Executive Order number 70 series of 2018 includes the DOJ as member of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict o yung NTF-ELCAC Task Force. Republic Act number 11479 Section 45 Anti-Terrorism Council includes Secretary of Justice as one of its members. So the question is, as a member of NTF-ELCAC and ATC, how can the DOJ ensure the impartiality of the secretary itself, diba? So what are the mechanisms in place, and even the prosecutors, paano po natin pinanatili yung impartiality? So nakikita kasi natin, Mr. Chair, na nawawala yung impartiality ng mga prosecutors din dahil DOJ mismo ay member ng NTF-ELCAC at ang ATC po.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, the Department of Justice has to be objective in what it does. Partiality is a point of view that many of us may have a different definition of, because we are partial to victims of crimes. If that is the only thing that we have to do, we have to state that we are very partial to victims of crimes, but we are very objective in what we do as to the culpability of people. We will not bring anybody to court without any evidence that will back up our claim. In fact, we already have established a higher modicum of evidence for the next few months that will be introduced to the public. We always talk about probable cause, Madam Chair, but actually the bigger modicum of evidence that we want to introduce is a reasonable certainty of conviction that based on the evidence available to the prosecutor. That's why we are not. We are objective in what we do, but we are not impartial. We are very partial to the victims of crimes, Madam Chair.
Madam Castro.
Sir Chair. Kasi, halimbawa, may mga example na tayo na meron, Mr. Chair. Nung, for example, itong last May 2023, Bangged RTC Branch 2 acquitted CPA Chairperson, yung CPA po Cordillera People's Alliance, Chairperson Windel Bulingit and 6 others due to lack of probable cause. Last July 17, 2023, MTC Manila Branch 47 granted demurrer to evidence resulting to the acquittal of May Nasino and others. So bakit po, Mr. Chair, kung sinasabi ninyong partial kayo sa mga victims, may I know bakit sa level pa lang ng prosecutor hindi na di-dismiss yung kaso? At alam niyo po itong si May Reyna Nasino, namatayan pa po ito, Mr. Secretary ng anak. So at nakakulong siya for 3 years. Nakulong siya for 3 years na talagang hindi naman napatunayan yung kanyang kaso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The burden of proof in criminal cases is proof beyond reasonable doubt. Vis-a-vis the reason why people file cases just because of probable cause. That's why the Department of Justice is adopting a higher standard, which is reasonable certainty of conviction based on the evidence. And Madam Chair, we cannot win all the cases. These cases were filed prior to our coming into the DOJ. And we just have to roll with the punches. We cannot win all the cases that are filed by the prosecutors, but we can assure everybody, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, that our standard of looking at the cases is much higher now, and we are demanding much more from the prosecutors before they file cases. That is something that has to be done to actually solve many problems, including the congestion of our jail system.
So last question po as regards to that. So are there mechanisms, Mr. Chair, Mr. Secretary, that are in place para po mapanatili natin yung impartiality ng mga prosecutors and at the same time DOJ as part of NTF, LCAC, and APC?
Well, as I said again, I will repeat again, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, that impartiality is not what we look at here. We're looking at objectivity. We will always be partial to the victims of crimes and defend their right to redress of grievances, which is also a constitutional right. But objectivity is, I think, is the more important thing, that we do not go to court with bias against anybody. Mahirap po kasi sabihin, pag unknown persons ang gumawa, bakit po para nilalagay na state agents kagad o kaya sasabihin na killings under Marcos, para hong may pinatatamaan po sa politika. Sana po.
Hindi naman po. So syempre
tayo.
nanggagaling po yan sa panahon na po nito. Kaya nga po na-compare natin.
May nangyayari pong pagpatay.
Kaya po na-compare natin, Mr. Secretary, yung last year nung panahon ni Duterte at saka yung ngayon. Based yan doon sa PNP, PNP data po.
Sige po. Basta yung data po na yan ay gusto po namin malaman at makita. At ito po yung aming i-validate kung totoo po yan.
So meron na po
bang namin tanongin siguro sa NBI at sa police kung ito po ay may basihan ng lahat ng data na ito.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Meron na po na inquest related dito sa drug?
Ang inquest po kasi may specific cases po. Kung sasabihin nyo sa amin ang pangalan, hahanapin po namin sa amin pong talaan.
So sa ngayon po, so without naming names, ilan po ang na-inquest based doon sa mga drug-related cases?
Anong period po yung inquest na tinatanong nyo? Kung ito po ay from July 1, 2022 hanggang ngayon sa kasalukuyan po?
Yes, Mr. Secretary, ito po yung June 30 hanggang June 30, 2023. Mula po nung June 30, 2022 hanggang June 30, 2023 po, Mr. Chair.
Hahanapin po namin ang mga inquest records po. At ngayon po sasabihin po na natin, nandito po ang Prosecutor General upang tanungin po ang bawat sangay ng Department of Justice tungkol sa pag-i-inquest ng drug-related killings na inyo pong tinatanong, kung ito po ay na-inquest na o hindi ng ating pong Department of Justice.
So, pwede po bang makakuha ng data, Mr. Secretary?
Yes, the Prosecutor General will furnish you the data, ma'am. Na kailangan po ng DOJ. Yung yung congestion po ng ating mga kulungan Ang piitan po natin ay nasa 383% ang congestion rate. Ngunit ang hiningi namin po para maiayos to ay 23 billion para magpagawa ng bagong piitan at para ma-decongest po natin ang mga tao. Ngunit wala akong binigay sa amin na ganitong pondo ang gobyerno.
Nandiyan ba ang DBM, Sir Chair? Can we ask the DBM to answer? Kasi
I think your time is over, and if you want to ask the DBM, please take your questions in the second round. So for the first round,
Mr. Chair, sasagutin naman, hindi lang ako nagtatanong eh. DBM, kasi sinabi po ni Sir Secretary na ganito
See, wala naman si
ganito
DBM
po.
rito. DBM is not a member of the DOJ family. So,
I know po, kasi sa mga, ang alam ko po sa mga budget hearing, mayroon nandiyan ng DBM. Sinabi ni Secretary, they asked for 100
Okay, I will,
pesos. So bakit po?
the
iba-
COMSEC
binigay?
is asked whether or not there is a representative from the office of the DBM. I am so sorry you are not recognized earlier, so you may answer. There is no more question to be asked.
How is that possible, Mr. Secretary, for our own Human Rights Commission to express cooperation with the ICC when the President already said we're done with the ICC? How do you think they will proceed, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the Commission on Human Rights is an independent constitutional commission, but it has to respect the other branches of government that are there. And when the executive was already given the statement or its own commitment, I believe that it is their duty to consult first with the executive regarding this matter, because we have to speak with one voice as a country. So in this regard, Mr. Chairman, we may have to communicate with the Commissioner on Human Rights about this matter.
And of course, the Commission on Human Rights should also communicate with the Office of the Solicitor General.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Ano po yung competence ng ating yung mga cybercrime natin, Mr. Secretary? I have a very simple issue. Meron po kasing naglalaro sa Facebook. Siyempre po, hindi niya bibigay ang pangalan. Sometimes they make a mockery of the hearings in Congress, but they hide, their identity. Incognito sila sa Facebook, but they tag people. When you ask the people being tagged in the Facebook, sabi nila friend sila. Pag tinag mo pala, Mr. Chair, friend mo pala. Ngayon, pag tinanong mo yung friend, kung kakilala niya yung tinag niya, kahit na friend niya, hindi niya rin kilala. Is it possible for the NBI cybercrime to identify kung sino man yun para hindi na po nakapaglalaro sila? Hindi naman po kami nasasaktan, Mr. Secretary. Kaya lang, I think it's more on protecting the institution. Pinagtatawanan nila kami na, well, they have all the rights sana, but not the institution. Sana, kung matulungan nyo kami, is it possible to identify them? Kasi kung ako lang, talagang mahihirapan po ako. Kung ABS-CBN lang sana yon, Mr. Secretary, medyo madadali tayo. Salamat po.
Ano ho kaya ho kausapin? Ginagawa ho namin dito. Kinakausap po namin ng Facebook. Meron ho kami yung opisina namin ng cybercrime within the DOJ talks to Facebook about taking down several posts that may be damaging to other people. And most of the time we are obliged naman. Ino-obliged naman po kami ng Facebook. So pwede ho yan. I think that it can be done. But the biggest anti-cybercrime office right now with the budget is actually the Philippine National Police. The anti-cybercrime group of the PNP is the biggest right now in the country. Ang NBI po, maliit po ang aming, hindi ho ganun kalaki ang aming capability pa. But we're trying to build up our capabilities sa cybercrime. And the same thing with DOJ, as we are trying to reorganize the offices of the DOJ so that we can be more responsive to the times, because 70% of the crimes now have a cybercrime component. And that's why we have to adjust our approach to crimes, Mr. Chairman.
So ma-identify po natin sila, Mr. Secretary. Yun
So
lang po
ibigay
yung
mo sa amin ng ang data tungkol sa reklamo ay sisikapin po namin na malaman po
ma-identify.
natin. Opo.
Salamat po, Mr. Chair. I'm done.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning po sa lahat. I'd like to proceed straight to my questions. Sa Philippine Human Rights Situationer po noong 2020, nabanggit po doon na 9 years since nabuo yung Task Force AO35 on EJK, desaparecidos, torture, and other human rights violations. 13 cases lang po yung nag-result sa conviction. That is 3% ng 385 cases. Nagsabi din po yung CHR na yung Interagency Committee on its own ay hindi po nakapag-produce ng conviction. So, ina-acknowledge po ba ng DOJ na mabagal tayo sa pagpapanagot dun sa mga perpetrators?
Basta wala hong testigo, mahirap pong magdemanda. Ang kailangan po namin kooperasyon ng bawat Pilipino sa bagay na ito. At sana po merong hong magsusuplong ng mga salarin at magsasalita tungkol po sa mga krimen. Kung meron pong testigo, meron pong kaso. Yan po ang talagang takbo po ng sistema ng hustisya natin sa Pilipinas.
Mr. Chair, while meron naman po kasing mga gusto sanang mag-testify, tapos marami ding mga accounts, reports, and narratives, pero based po sa same report, mas marami pa po yung nadi-dismiss, 127 cases. Naka-clear po yung mga perpetrators through acquittals and dismissals. Kasama po dyan yung kay Manny Asuncion ng Cavite and yung Evangelista couple ng Batangas. 33% po yung mga naki-clear. So, mas mataas pa po yung batting average natin sa pag-clear ng perpetrator. So, paano po kaya natin mas pagbubutihin pa yung pag-aana nitong ating task force?
Ang problema ho kasi dito, basta may kaso po, depende po yan kung sa prosecution po kiniklear yan o sa korte na mismo. Kasi pagka sa prosecution po kiniklear yan, ibig sabihin, hindi ho dumabot sa piskal yung mga testigo laban po sa mga salarin sa isang krimen. Kaya sabi ko nga, ang mahalaga po ay ebidensya. Kung meron pong mga testigo at may ebidensya, sahabulin po ng DOJ lahat yan. Ang problema po, pag wala hong testigo at walang ebidensya, saan po kami magsisimula? Kaya ang ginawa namin ngayon ay pinagsasama namin ngayon ang pulis tsaka ang piskal na matutuo sila magtrabahong magkasama upang magkaroon po ng case build-up. Yun lang po ang paraan upang malalakas ang kaso ma-file natin. Ngunit kung sa mga ganito po mga krimen nga, kung wala hong testigo at wala ho talaga ebidensya, napakahirap po talaga na manalo sa kahit anong kaso na ganito po.
Mr. Chair, yung sa case po kasi ni Manny Asuncion na isa pong labor leader sa Cavite, doon po may mga witnesses nga po na nagsasabi naman talaga na hindi totoo yung mga binabanggit ng police, pero at the end of the day, siya pa rin naman ay, yung kaso na dismissed due to lack of evidence di umano. Pero with that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to proceed na to my next topic. Ito naman itungkol sa ating drug war. Noong June 30, 2020, in-announce po sa UN Human Rights Council session na nire-review na yung around 6,000 na anti-illegal drug operations kung saan may mga namatay. Meron po bang operational guidelines yung interagency panel on this review?
Ang interagency panel po, ang DOJ review panel po ay aming nireconvene na, binubuo na namin ulit ito upang pag-aralan po yung mga kasong yan. Ngayon, yung guidelines po niyan ay, ang guidelines po nito sa review panel na aming binuo at binubuo muli ay nasa ilalim po ng AO35 na meron po tayo ngayon sa DOJ.
Meron po bang particular guidelines ito, Mr. Chair, na nakasulat, printed out?
Titignan ko po muna at aalamin ko sa ating pong kasama rito. Meron po tayong operational guidelines sa AO35.
Duly noted, Mr. Chair. Would like to request na lang po na yung office po natin sa Kabataan and of course yung committee ma-furnish po ng copy ng written operational guidelines ng review.
Comply, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.